So again, we're dealing with slope of a line. So find the slope if it exists of a line containing the pair of points 1, -1 and 1, -9. So again, there's just something suspicious here. It says if it exists. So what's going on there if it exists? One of the things we pick up on is in math, slope is the change in y over the change in x. One of the things we pick up on is if the change in y is 0 and the change in x was 2, 0 divided by 2 is 0 because 0 times 2 is 0. Or again, if you're just using logic, if you start with 0 and divide it among two people, each person is going to get 0. So 0 would make sense. So the slope would be 0. Now, if the change in y was 2 and the change in x was 0, 2 divided by 0, well, what times 0 is 2? That's not possible. This is actually going to be undefined. It doesn't exist. So if the change in x is 0, this is going to create a concept of undefined. And again, it does make sense. If you start with 2 and divide it among 0 people, it does make sense to divide it among 0 people. So this is doesn't make any sense at all. So if 0 is in the denominator, that means you're dividing by 0, and division by 0 is undefined. It does not work. So one of the things we pick up on is if the slope is 0, this is going to represent a horizontal line. So the graph is going to be going this direction. Undefined slope is going to be what we call a vertical line. So that's going to be going in this direction. So vertical lines do not have a slope. It's described as undefined. A horizontal slope is considered flat or 0 slope. So as we move into this problem, notice how this is 0.1, so this is x1, y1, and this is 0.2, so this is x2, y2. So if we use the formula y2 minus y1, that's -9, take away a -1. And on the bottom, we have 1 minus 1. So if we do the math, again, if I use the circle method to help me kind of think this through, that's a -9 and the opposite of a -1. But again, the opposite of a -1 is really a 1. So that's really the same thing as a -9 plus 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. Now remember, if you take away a -1, if you take away a loss, think about it. If you take away a loss, you actually are increasing by 1. So this should make sense in that. So -9 plus 1 is actually a -8 over 0. Notice how we get this 0 in the denominator. It doesn't make sense to have a -8 and divide it by 0. So this does not give me an answer. There is no answer, so this is described as undefined. It's not workable. So there is not a slope for this problem. So undefined also means there is not a slope. A slope does not exist for this question. I cannot assign a number to this problem. So there is no numerical value for this. So the graph would look like a vertical line if you took the time to actually graph it.